this. If you know what this cutscene right here is about to do to you, then you probably understand how this one scene from this one mission in Call of Duty Black Ops puts everything that Call of Duty used to be, and frankly isn't anymore, on full display. If you haven't seen this cutscene before, I'm just gonna let it play out.
I'm gonna kill you all! Don't you touch me! What? Shit. Motherfuckers. I'm gonna make them pay. You! No talk. Blade! What's the plan?
I'm thinking.
No talk! One chance, Mason.
We'll take it.
Okay. Bang! You can't kill me! You shoot, GI, you shoot! Fuck! This time, do it! Aim line! Ready. Play. Bang!
6 and 8 o'clock.
I have yet to experience another cutscene in a video game that has me so conflicted on how to describe it. It's badass. It's horrifying. It's emotionally taxing. And it's just like the movie scene that inspired it.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, I had no idea before looking things up about this Call of Duty mission that this scene is almost one-to-one with a scene from the 1978 film The Deer Hunter. Directed by Michael Cimino, the film won an Oscar for Best Picture. The Deer Hunter is a film following a group of industrial workers as they are drafted into the Vietnam War, with the repeated participation in the game Russian roulette acting as an emotional anchor and physical expression of their agony and confusion within the world. And I wanted to include that there are controversies that do surround this film. The first being its depiction of the Viet Cong. There are 0 reported cases of soldiers forcing prisoners to play Russian roulette, and the film was criticized upon release for portraying Vietnamese soldiers as more cruel than historically accurate. There's also the story that Michael Cimino, the director, hired someone else, that being Derek Washburn, to write the screenplay for the film in a very short, stressful period of time. After he handed in the screenplay that would become the film, Michael Cimino terminated his contract and just named himself with all of the writing credits. The credits have since been attributed to Mr. Washburn, and it was just super interesting to read about. I feel like these controversies were worth explaining, and learning about the film like this really does make me want to sit down and watch it. But getting back to Call of Duty Black Ops, while it may have been more powerful from a storytelling standpoint if this Black Ops sequence wasn't lifted from an older film, I do appreciate the way it went about introducing this scene and what it's supposed to convey to an entirely new audience. And due to the controversies I mentioned before, while the film won awards and was popular at the time of its release, it hasn't exactly aged into a timeless war classic as other movies in the genre have. Meaning there's a good chance that most of the kids or teenagers who played Black Ops in 2010 saw this scene exclusively within this game, who, like me, had no idea it was pulled straight from an older Vietnam film. Mainly because the scene for sure fits within the context of the game. I definitely don't find it as a cheap gag simply for shock value. I'll always remember back in 2010 when Black Ops was the newest game on the market and having my kid brain absolutely blown away at seeing the veins in the character's hands and arms. It's still kind of impressive even now. I really like Black Ops' art direction. It had a signature look and grit to it. And this cutscene and its shock factor and brutality fit this style perfectly. For years, I just thought the Black Ops developers came up with this crazy sequence. It just fit that well, felt so natural in this game. And this signature style and grittiness is ultimately what made Black Ops so special. The way it took the visceral and realistic depiction of war from Call of Duty World at War, and then the blockbuster globe-trotting action narrative from the Modern Warfare series, Treyarch blended the two together into the perfect marriage of elements that really pushed Call of Duty into the gaming powerhouse that it was in the early 2010s. The knack Treyarch has, or had, depending on how you look at it, to make intriguing mysteries for the player to solve, to also create incredibly detailed environments rife with their own storytelling. And the bravery to push boundaries and sometimes make the player uncomfortable is all perfectly showcased with the decision to recreate this scene in this game. I recently made a video theorizing why there aren't more games centered on the Vietnam War as a conflict. This mission is the perfect template of that sentiment. If anything, seeing this scene work so well just raises my confusion with why a heavy Vietnam-focused narrative hasn't really been attempted, at least deeply, because this is a great proof of concept. Using older Vietnam media and stories to then create a mind-bending narrative following a soldier through this awful time in US and Vietnamese history could work perfectly. I mean, plenty of books and movies have talked about the subject with success, and I covered these theoretical game ideas and the reasons why in that previous video. But nonetheless, the use of this scene is a great example of how other stories can be adapted in the video game format with success if done correctly. The homage paid to the Deer Hunter is a neat Easter egg for those who have seen the film, and it's still incredibly hard-hitting for those who hadn't. And that's what Call of Duty used to provide players, laying a historical base on which they would build an interesting fictional narrative. I mean, even in the Modern Warfare series, they would take realistic-ish geopolitics and tell a story that would look similar to things that were happening at the time. It seems like more recently, Call of Duty narratives, if they even include one, have become these super generic blockbuster action movie plots.
Missiles. They're going for the missiles.
Classic. It's always about the missiles, man.
Where the fucking missiles? I smell missiles.
Where are the missiles?
Tony's got their own missiles. No missiles inside.
Almost missiles.
Two missiles.
Had one missile gone,
Two
two
missiles.
missiles.
There's nothing really to ground the player. Nothing interesting or realistic that sets the tone for the events of the narrative. Tossing players into environments that look more real, but ultimately feel flat because the rest of the narrative and backstory isn't given the same attention. And I really think it's that historic or realistic base world building that makes scenes like this one from Black Ops work so well. And I hope to see Call of Duty return to something gritty, darker, and somewhat historical, or at least grounded in real life events. And of course, including cool references to legacy media that is always welcome. Wait, could it be?
Truth is, your whole life is a lie.
You wanted peace, so we hit the war, and now it rages on in the shadows.
Behind closed doors, where we hide the world's secrets.
While we build your trust, the world falls apart around you. If you weren't so distracted, you'd realize
Nothing is what it seems. But if it's truth you seek, look in the dark.
Okay, the Black Ops 6 trailer looks really, really good in terms of what I'm looking for in a Call of Duty campaign. And at least at this point, only time will tell if it really accomplishes the same grit and intrigue from the original Black Ops game, but I am really looking forward to giving this one a try. But with that, that's my deep dive into the roulette scene from Call of Duty Black Ops. If you like this video, consider hitting that like button, subscribe for notifications of future videos, check out the video on screen now if you're curious why there aren't any hard-hitting Vietnam video game narratives. Thanks for watching.